Good afternoon, Lviv. This morning we're going to be speaking to Marjana Savka, poet, singer, publisher, bookstore owner, and in general, a force of nature. Marjana, привіт, з Бостону.
Привіт, Askold. Hello, everybody.
Marjana, I wonder if you could just begin by telling us a little bit about yourself. Tell us where you were born, where you grew up, something about your family, your parents.
I'm from Ukraine.
We got that.
It's most important today. So I was born in little town, my native town, Kopychinci. It's Ternopil region. Now it's very small town, maybe 6,000, but in this moment the population bigger because many refugees came to Kopychinci. And when I was 17, I moved to Lviv because I started to learn Ukrainian language and Ukrainian literature in Lviv University. So I stay here all this time from my 17, and I'm very happy because Lviv is very beautiful and amazing, absolutely amazing city. Yeah, I like it very much. And here I have my job, my big kingdom, publishing kingdom. 20 years of my work here. I will start to work with publishing everything 20 years ago.
What made you want to start? Why did you begin?
It's a long story. For the first, I was an actress in the theater. Then, but it was short time and it was not possible. It was impossible for me because that time was very hard for everybody in Ukraine. It was the middle of 90s, and this time was it was a really poor time in Ukraine. I had to lose less money for living like actress, and I had to find a new job, and I found this job. It was a job in the university library, Stepanaka, and I started to work like scientific worker there. Mm-hmm. And it was 6 years. But this was very boring time there. Not for me, because I should move, I should do something exciting. So I started to do something exciting, like to be a publisher.
How do you begin that? I mean, to go from working in a library to starting a publishing venture is a tricky process.
Crisis of my life and the ways what to do in this life, and together with my first husband, we started to do this without money, without any possibilities, without connections, relations with these people of business.
What was the first book you published?
The first book was, the title of this book was To Parents and to Kids, Малятам і батькам. And the author of this book was oldest writer maybe in Ukraine, but not the regular common writer. It's writer of cookbooks, Darya Tsvek. She was a legend of Ukrainian cookbooks, and for us she was like a patroness of this work. She was 1991 then in that
Wow.
time. Yes. But this book was very beautiful with illustrations, with photos. I for the first time, especially for this book, I prepared Pascha, Ukrainian bread, Easter bread. We got a lot of fun during the preparing this book. And when we got the first money for this book, we sold first 100 copies in the square, Rynok Square in Ivano-Frankivsk. We thought, oh, we are business people. No. And we start for this book. How we can did this? The first call to the one big factory. I don't know how to say дріжджі in English.
Yeast.
It's a factory of yeast.
Oh.
They were first sponsor of this book, and with this help, we start to make books. And every new book, it was very hard to find the money.
Where did you find it? Where did you look? Because I remember I was
relatives.
yeah. I remember how cool the books were. Yeah.
We were trying to sell the books was published, and so you remember when I was first time in the United States, I was a publisher,
Yeah.
but I was a publisher of small publishing house where was very small team, maybe 5 people. We started from 2 persons, me and my husband, and the book by book we were trying to make and sell the books, and to learn how to do this in what way. So we got a lot of different awards for these books, and I remember that one time that we had more awards than books.
Great.
But it was not enough for the success. You should be sure that it is not only for success to have awards. So in the 2008, I remember this time. It was a horrible time. We got a big economic crisis in the country.
All over the world, though, yes.
Yes, all over the world, and particularly in Ukraine. And in this time, it was very difficult to follow, to do this. And in the moment when we was absolutely exhausted, so we find their partner. It's like investor, and now there is our partners. It's a company, Fast. So now I'm here in the big place, the territory of our offices, my office and my partner's office, Old Line Publishing House. It's fantastic.
How many people working with you now?
100.
Wow.
Yes.
And you also have bookstores?
On the first floor, we have a bookstore and kindergarten.
Wow.
Yes, it was our idea to open the kindergarten for our employees and for our neighbors, of course. And my son grew up at this kindergarten also. Face of the building. Yeah, we have big book spines, and every year we changing this book spines. Depends from our book news.
So much has happened in the few minutes that you've been describing this evolution, and so just a couple more things about the publishing house and the bookstores before we talked about your writing. But when did you begin publishing literature and poetry? And then who are some of the authors that helped you grow? And then who are you publishing now?
Its first 10 years, it was just only for children. And I started to write for children, children poetry, especially for my company, because I didn't know an author said it was easier for me to create the children poetry than to find these authors. But now we know a lot for many Ukrainian and foreign good authors, and we publish books for children, for adults. We publish not only children books, we publish fiction and non-fiction, and also children books.
Yeah,
but not scientific books, just non-fiction.
yeah.
And many known in the world, many authors, which is known in the all of the world. For example, we have rights for all of works by Ernest Hemingway, Terry Pratchett,
And Arundhati Roy too, right?
Arundhati Roy also, sure, and Milan Kundera,
Wow.
is the biggest, and many books of Elizabeth Gilbert, Tom Hanks, many popular authors,
as well as Ukrainian novels, right? I mean, you're also,
and also Ukrainian novelists like Askold Melnyczuk, also
important ones. There.
American Ukrainian, and many Ukrainian. Дож Бату, Іларіон Павлюк, Софія Андрухович, Петро Яценко, Вікторія Меліна.
Yeah, so it's huge. It's huge.
Павло Вольвач, a lot. So I can prepare the list of
it's a hugely impressive list and enterprise. And I understand you also have bookstores in other cities as well that are connected with you. Is that right?
Yes, sure. We have the bookstores in Odessa, Dnipro, and Kyiv. But we also publish a lot of poetry books, and we have a really huge series of Ukrainian contemporary poets.
Is poetry popular?
I have to say, not so popular like Elizabeth Gilbert, of course.
Of course, that's universal. That's absolutely universally true. But clearly, that is, as always, publishing poetry a labor of love and of the spirit. And I'm wondering how your own work has managed to, how you've managed to sustain your own work so effectively and be so productive, given how much you're doing with the business. Could you tell us a little bit about how your own writing has evolved and how it has developed over the years? Because I know that you began writing and publishing at a very young age.
Yes, I write from the very young age, and it's important for me to be a poet. But I understood that maybe my mission is not be only a poet, but be a publisher and be a communicator of the world and different peoples. And I think maybe my main role is like prepare the society, community of people, not only for people who makes books, but people who are ready to work with new reality. Because our readers I'm sure that my readers, the readers of my publishing house, the maybe most effective and most pragmatic, and in the one case romantic people, in the strong values, in the big motivation to develop the Ukrainian society, to build this house of Ukraine in the center of Europe. And I'm very proud that I'm not не помилилася.
No, you were not mistaken.
I didn't mistake in this choice, in my choice, because I feel how many people in this strong connections with us, and it was very important. I'm sure that my work and have to be a publisher. It's to be the person who can find their connection in the other point of the world,
Yes.
from the other side of the world.
Yes.
And it's very important. We are without borders. It's very, very important for us. Because we are connecting through the books and events and different festivals. We make this connection between the people of the different countries, and we open for our readers very important things and very important books and authors. And I had this possibility now to invite a very popular and important writers from abroad, and I'm very happy that all of them got very good inspiration from this meetings with Ukrainian audience. So, if you know, there's Michael Katakis. It's an American writer, and
he's the executive of the Hemingway estate.
Yes, he cared about this foundation. We wanted to buy the rights for Hemingway. For the first, it was very difficult because he was very, maybe he was very picky in this. He had idea to sell the rights to another company, and it was with Russian roots in Ukraine, but he didn't know. Maybe he knew, but it was another time. And we had a very long communication with him. It was maybe near the year, and finally he said that he decided to sell the rights to another company. So we have written the letter, the mail. So okay, have you a good success, something like that, and have you don't we have you do not make a mistake. And for the 1 month, he replied and said, so I canceled the contract with this publisher, and I'm ready to sign a contract with you. So we started this cooperation with the president. And we published his book about Hemingway, Archive of Hemingway. And we invited him to Ukraine. It was 2 or 3 years ago. You remember?
I do, 2018, yes.
So, and when he came to Ukraine, he was very surprised. And it was, now he's like our friend. And I remember his words. He said, I was traveling to the many countries of Europe, and every time I saw past. Now I see the country where I see the future.
Beautifully said.
And it was very, very important to hear in this moment for us. And now I feel that words are working now. Because yes, I'm sure I see this future of Ukraine, and this future of Ukraine is incredible important, not only the Europe, but for the all of the world. So you see, there's literature in the context, politics, and everything what is around, all of these events around. Sometimes I think that many moments in poetry, in novels, it's like a vision of these events now, and I'm inspecting my poetry, and you see so many lines about the war and about all of this, because maybe the poets can feel and maybe can keep this line that says this future, and
It's visionary. They can see, cannot.
it's like a visionary. Yes.
Yeah.
Oh.
So you mentioned the war, Marjana, and we're 6 weeks into this. Could you say something about what you were doing right before the war, and then how things have changed for you in the last 6 weeks?
You know what, the difficult time for all of us, it was 2 years of this isolation, COVID, everything about this. Now we don't speak about this, and epidemic, it's not exist now.
Yeah, right.
But it was not easy time, because you remember that it was a problem with the bookstores, because they sometime 3 months was closed.
Right, because of COVID, right?
Yes, with COVID, and before this dark time. But no, I don't want to say the time is dark, because all of us making this a light. And if you remember, maybe one of the most important children book by Roman Romaneshin and Andrei Lassi, The War Changed Rwanda. It was about this, that we can overcome this situation when all of us will make a light.
Mm-hmm.
And we trying to make a light all of this time, 2 years ago and many years ago, and now. Before this time, when I started in the late age. When I was 45, I started to paint, and I started to sing and write music. I don't know why not earlier, but it happened. And it was very, very important for me, because in that moment I was a businesswoman, owner of the big publishing house, and maybe it was an art therapy, maybe it was like to make something new, but it was important for me. And I felt in one moment that I should back to the stage, because you remember I was an actress, and it was part of my, I don't know my soul,
Sure.
моєї сутності.
Being, of your essence, your being.
Yes, that's my being. Yes, it's part. Maybe most important part of my being, because when I back to the stage, I felt this is place of my power, with my strength, and I feel very powerful. When I'm on the stage, because I don't know why. It's about the energy. It's about very strong connection with audience, with other people. Now I'm not young, and I can tell more than I could tell earlier. So, but I'm still young to be more
Courageous.
Brave.
Great.
Yes, to be brave. Yes, and I love these feelings. I love to be brave. So.
And I wonder if is there something you might want to say to the world about, people ask me about what is Ukrainian culture? How is it how can you characterize that? And it's a big thing, and it can't be easily summarized on the back of a matchbook. But I can't think of anyone who has more authority and more of a right to speak about it than you, given the many areas of it in which you have been working so successfully and meaningfully. So is there something you'd want to say to the world about how they might understand or begin to approach Ukrainian culture?
It's a big question, and I think it's I will need more vocabulary and more time to to tell about this. Ukrainian culture can be very inspiring for many other cultures now, because it is a very important moment when we are fighting, and all the world see this fight, and we on the light side of this battle.
Yes.
And not many people know about Ukraine and Ukrainian culture and what is it, and what is Ukrainian literature. It's like little drops, then. And we start to we should to find a new language to say about Ukraine and to say about Ukrainian culture. Maybe we start to say about Ukrainian contemporary literature, because it's more understandable for foreign readers, and we have 8 years of the war, and some writers write about this also, and some of us write about the past, but some of us write about the future. And of course, we have different styles in the literature, and maybe now we are forming this new body of Ukrainian literature.
Ukraine is so visible around the world, and the work that you're doing is going to help the world deepen its understanding of what Ukraine is now, and what it has grown out of, and what it promises for the world, for the future.
Yeah. Yes. But this price for this visibility is very, very high. Now I'm a volunteer, like maybe most part of us. It's a country of all volunteers. And
what do volunteers do?
I'm looking for medicine and medical equipment for Kharkiv.
Right.
This every day, it's daily strong connection with Kharkiv. It's many messengers and calls and connections and recalls and replays. For the first days, we got a big donation to the army from publishing house. Then we start to make donation this medicine. Then we opened more than 30 titles for downloading for free, because it was really important for the people abroad, for Ukrainian refugees, to read the Ukrainian books in the gadgets. So we start to publish some books in other factories in Ternopil region. It is not so good quality like in Kharkiv. All of our publishing partners, big partners in Kharkiv, and it's impossible to work with them. And we help them for the first days, and we try to keep these people and in their spirit, and not only spirit.
Yeah, it's, Marjana, what you described is so moving and inspiring to all of us.
All this time you keep this connection with us. It's very important for us, and I think I want to say about this future. This time it's really hard, and I'm afraid about the Ukraine, because we each of the day, every day, we see the news with new deaths and new number of died people, killed people. The awful murders. We saw awful murders in some Ukrainian cities around Kiev, on the south of Ukraine, in the east of Ukraine. We couldn't imagine that it's possible in this time, in this century, 21st century. We tried to save the nature, and we tried to separate paper and plastic, and
Yes.
How to can exist this reality, this parallel world? It's like we are like inside of the anti-utopia.
Yes, dystopia.
Inside of the dystopia, like inside of the book, it's not oral.
Yeah.
It's worse, much worse, much more. But we feel that this moment of maybe for all of the contemporary civilization, and we will stay to the end, and we pray for staying with us all the world. We have no chance to forget this, and we will never forgive. Never. I know what is enemy. I wrote many times about enemies, but I didn't know who is it exactly. Now I know exactly the face of enemy. Many of cultural activists in the world start to talk about humanity, and And they start to talk to us about humanity for the enemies and for Russian culture also. I would love to say that there is no time about this conversation and about this dialogue. Maybe later we can speak about this, but not now. And some American interviewer asked me what I feel, angry or what? Nenavist, hate? Yes, I hate, but maybe more important for me, I feel they don't exist for me. No, they don't exist. But because it's not a Putin only, and we were very naive. We think about that it's politic. It's not only politic of this leader. It's a way of all the country, because we see. I'm reading in Russian channels also, because I want to know what my enemy think about this. So I am sure that it's country, not only leader. And it's very, very painful to say that we have enemy. This enemy, it's country, not only person. It's very painful, but it's true.
Чи можливо попросити тебе один вірш прочитати на кінець по-українськи?
Питиму і їстиму хліб і вино. Виловлю істину, виорю дно. Істина істинна у простоті. Боже, у радості всі ми святі.